Okay, let's give a big round of applause to Karen Snook from the Gentle Barn. And Karen, I've got this extremely exotic device with a button right there.
High tech, that's the one, eh? Not the red one, but the other one. Thank you so much. Okay, wow, it came out so dark. That's beautiful on my computer back at the Gentle Barn. But my name is Karen Snook, and I'm the Executive Director of the Gentle Barn, and I just wanted to spend a few minutes with you this evening sort of telling you about what we do there. And we're just down the street. Maybe some of you have already visited us. Has anyone visited us already? 2, woohoo! I'll consider that a success. Well, maybe after I speak a little bit and you see some of these cool photographs, you'll all want to come and have a wonderful experience here at the Gentle Barn. Who are we? We are primarily, we start with a collection of about 130 different animals who've all been rescued from abuse, neglect, abandonment, or worse. This is a sort of a set of pictures. We have Amber, our hen. We have Billy the goat up there at the top center. We have Sir Lancelot, a horse who was rescued from abuse. He was actually, he's an amazing horse now. If you had seen him 4 months ago when we first got him, he was skin and bones. He had rain rot, he had fungus, he had skin missing, he had sores all over his body. He was a mess. And he was actually taken from his owner, who had just finished writing him, as an abuse case. And he spent 3 months in the shelter, and nobody wanted this horse because he was skinny and he was ugly and he still had funk all over him. So they called us and said, you know, could you come get this horse, because nobody else wants him, and we're going to put him down tomorrow if you don't say yes. So we said, yes, we'll come and get him. And today he's an absolute beauty, and he even has a girlfriend. Down there on the far right below, you see a little cow face, and her name is Holy. She's named by Ellen DeGeneres, who came and met her and decided to call her Holy Cow. And her best friend, Madonna, they were both rescued from the veal industry. And again, they came to us really in deplorable condition, skinny and weak, and Holy had never stood up before. Because part of what happens in the veal industry is they want the calves to not move around very much, so the meat is very, very tender, and she is what they call stomped, which is they actually step on them when they're newborns to make sure their backs are wounded or broken so they never stand up. And when she came to us, her back was curved like a little U, and she'd never stood up. She couldn't do it. So we had to go in every hour and pick her up by the tail and force her to stand up so she'd get enough muscle tone in her legs that she could eventually do it by herself. But she's a happy ending. You should see her now. The girl likes to kick up her heels, run around. Her best friend Madonna and she are inseparable, and they are wonderful ambassadors. Anyway, so Madonna is a happy story. So she started out awful. She couldn't walk. We went and had our wonderful corps of volunteers stay with her like 24/7 for the first week or so and keep picking her up so we could build those muscles. And now she kicks up her heels, and she's an astounding lap cow. And if you sit down in the barn with her, she'll come over, she'll kneel right on down, put her head in your lap, and she'll take a nap. I mean, she thinks she's a doggy. She's really tremendous. The middle guy there is Addison. He's our donkey, our one donkey, and he's also rescued from abuse. He was a working donkey, and he was worked like so many of our animals at our farm until he just didn't have anything left to give. I mean, he basically sort of broke down and said, I can't do it anymore, and sat down and gave up. And a donkey rescue came and got him because the people didn't want him. He couldn't work anymore. They didn't want him anymore, so they were either going to slaughter him or send him away. So the donkey rescue got him, and then we took him from the donkey rescue, and he is one of our jewels. And speaking of jewels, the peacock on the far right, his name is Jewel. And he actually was abandoned. He was wandering the streets, and he found us. We didn't find him. He found us and sort of said, hey, they feed me good here. I'm not leaving. But he's a funny guy because I think he wants a female peacock really, really badly. He displays for everybody and anybody, chickens, goats, sheep, whoever he can find. He flirts with everybody. So we have 130 of these animals, all of whom are now healed and charming and delightful and very well socialized, and they, for the most part, love people and are happy to meet you when you come and visit us. And like I said, every one of our animals has a story to tell. These two here, the one on the left-hand side is Bonsai, our mini horse. And the one on the right is Prince Charming. And they're best buds out in the pasture. Bonsai's story is very sad. It has a sad beginning, like almost all of our animals. He started off as, for the first 6 years of his life, he was owned by an alcoholic lady who had sort of violent tendencies. When she was sober, everything was pretty okay. But then when she'd get drunk, she'd come out and punch Bonsai in the face until she got tired of punching him. And so he learned that people were inconsistent and scary as all get out. So when we first got him, he was quite violent because he thought he had to protect himself. He never knew when a human approach was going to be a happy approach or whether it was going to be a punch. So he learned to protect himself by charging and baring his teeth and trying to make sure everyone stayed away from him. And it took him a few years to actually learn that it doesn't happen anymore. There's no more punching. And people are consistently and always nice, and they usually have carrots. And, worst thing that happens is they come out and pet him. So now he thinks people are pretty cool, and he comes over to see if you got something yummy to offer him. And he actually really likes kids, because kids never hurt him. So he's a wonderful ambassador to kids who, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the at-risk kids who come and visit us. And one of our primary jobs is his story is very compelling to kids who've also had guardians who should have been caretakers but who were inconsistent and occasionally violent. And so their pasts have led them to the place they're at. The guy on the right, the very gentle guy with the big knobby knees, is an older horse named Prince Charming. Again, he was used until he was pretty used up. Those knees are very arthritic, and so he can't carry anybody, he can't pull any loads, he can't really do any work of any kind. But instead of retiring him and giving him sort of a dignified retirement, whoever owned him, and we don't know who it was, they took him to a boarding stable, tied him to a fender of a car, and abandoned him there. And the boarding stable owner was so angry about having this old, useless horse stuck and abandoned on his property that he took a tractor, dug a big hole in the back part of his property, got his shotgun, and was leading Prince Charming into the hole when one of his boarders caught him and said, "What are you doing with that horse?" And he said, "I'm going to show those people what happens to horses that are abandoned on my property, and this is what's going to happen to them." And the boarder said, please don't do it. I mean, make your point some other way. Please just let me find him some other place where he can be retired and be happy. He's a sweet guy. He doesn't deserve this fate. So she called us and told us what she saw, and we said, absolutely, we'll come get him. And Prince Charming is just the gentlest guy. He has a special person who's also a senior citizen, and they are so bonded. She comes to see him 3, 4, 5 times a week, and they just hang out together and tell stories. And his friend Bonsai there, he play. I mean, when he first came to us, he was very lame. He could hardly walk, and you could see his spirit was kind of broken. But now sometimes you wouldn't know he's even got arthritis. He bucks and kicks and has a good time, and that little black guy chases him all around the pasture, and they have a great old time. So his time is not over. He is not destined to be stuck in a pit and shot in the head. He's now an ambassador to people who also thought maybe they didn't have much worth in this world, and to give the story that even though some people may not think you have much worth, there are others who can see the Prince Charming lying behind the knobby knees. So besides our animals, we have our animals and they're our sanctuary, but we actually have an important job to do with at-risk and inner city and special needs kids. We have groups from all over LA who bring busloads of kids to us who have pasts that are very similar to the stories of our animals. Pasts of abandonment, neglect, guardians who could not be trusted, drug use or issues with the law, issues with authority, issues with fitting in, issues with not having self-esteem, issues with having been abused by caretakers. And these kids come to our property and they hear that, and a lot of these kids have really sort of shut down with people. They have learned not to trust anymore because their guardians weren't consistent, or their guardians were violent, or they got themselves on the wrong side of the law, and they've learned that people are iffy at best. And so these are kids who don't respond well to normal therapy and to, their counselors or the authority figures that they've learned not to trust. But they come to our farm and they learn the stories of these animals who've had similar pasts, And the bond of trust is almost instantaneous. They see these animals, and they know the animals aren't trying to manipulate them. They know the animals aren't trying to get them to do one thing or another. The animals have no agenda whatsoever. And the kids can feel that. And the kids bond because the stories are similar. It's amazing to watch how a kid with a past like Bonsai's, a kid who's got an alcoholic guardian, whether it be a mother or father or foster parent or whatever, here's Bonsai's story, and you can see that kid melt. And they get this tremendous sense of hope, because if Bonsai, who's a horse who couldn't even speak and tell his own story, can have a horrible past, maybe his horrible past didn't equal a horrible future, and maybe now my horrible past doesn't necessarily mean I have a horrible future. Bonsai came and was rescued by somebody, and now he's got a great life. And maybe I too can have a great life, and maybe my past doesn't equal my future, and I can heal, and I can recover, and I can go on and live my dreams. And each of the animals speaks to different kids with different pasts and different stories and different experiences. And these are some of the situations. The guy up in the top holding the chicken, his uncle had chickens, and so he loved chickens, and chickens spoke to him. And the fact that these chickens were rescued from a lady's car, this particular chicken he's holding, the lady was homeless, and she had nowhere to put. She had 24 chickens living in her car with her. A pretty horrible situation, but he bonded with this chicken because he knows what it's like to be homeless, and he also knows how much he loves chicken. So for him, a chicken was what melted his heart. And the little girl hugging the pig, she'd never met a pig before, and she just fell in love with our big pig Biscuit. And the guy down on the far right, hugging our cow Buddha. Buddha is the most saintly animal you'll ever meet in your life, and I really highly recommend coming and visiting her and hugging her. She is so gentle that when we have kids in wheelchairs, special needs kids, most animals are a little nervous about a wheelchair because it's weird looking. I mean, it has these wheels on it, and the person's stuck there, and it makes a creaking sound coming in towards the animal, and it just seems like it's a little off-putting for most animals. But this girl somehow, I don't know how she knows this, but she knows to be stock still. And you can surround her with a circle of wheelchairs, and she will not move a muscle. She won't swing her. Most cows, when they get a little nervous, they want to see what's going on, they swing their heads. And a cow who's, 1,500, 2,000 pounds starts swinging their head around a bunch of wheelchairs, you got problems. She knows, and we don't know how she knows to not move a muscle. She'll just stand there and let all the kids reach out and pet her. Most of these kids have never seen a cow, much less touched a cow. And they touch this cow, and it just makes their day. It makes their whole week. And this guy's from a gang prevention program, and he'd never seen a cow before. And we recommend hugging her because she's so big and soft and warm and delightful. We recommend it. He took our encouragement and gave it a shot, and he just draped himself over Buddha, and he just stayed there for the longest time, sort of breathing her in, and his whole body just relaxed. Maybe for the first time in his life, he just felt like he knew he could trust her. She has this just big, warm, maternal sort of presence, and it just melted his heart, and you can see his response to her. And we get that response on a regular basis from these kids who haven't responded this way to people in who knows how long. And besides our inner city kids, we also host to people with special needs. The lady on the left-hand side, I don't know if you can tell, but that black sort of furry-looking blob is actually a chicken. He's a silky chicken named Mario, who's a very friendly guy. And she, as you can see, maybe you can see, is strapped into a wheelchair. She can't move. And so, very often with people who are quadriplegic or can't move very much, they don't have a very great life. There's not very much to enrich their life. They're very often wheeled in front of a TV and kind of left there and forgotten. And she's part of a wonderful organization called Get Out, which is an opportunity for people who are housebound, who are in wheelchairs, or who are completely housebound, to get out and have adventures or outings and do fun things that are out of the norm and outside their house. And they had a whole group of about 15 adults who were all wheelchair bound, all strapped in with their heads and their arms and their legs, and they can't move, but they can move their eyes and they can smile. And when Mario came and sat on her lap, she was just thrilled out of her mind. I mean, how often do you have a chicken come sit in your lap and be your friend for a while? And our friend Jason on the right-hand side here He also is a quadriplegic in a wheelchair. He can't even move his head. He has to have his head strapped in between these two little things. So he can only move eyes and mouth. He can't move any other parts of his body. And our horse, Sasha, again, intuitively, she kind of knows that these kids in wheelchairs cannot reach out to her. So she reaches out to them. When Sasha sees a kid in a wheelchair, rather than being sort of nervous around this weird machine thing, she knows, and she goes over, and what she's doing right there is she goes over and gets very close to them and sort of introduces herself about 5 inches away from them, which for most kids is like, oh my gosh, I've never had such a huge animal be so close, and that in itself is thrilling. But then Sasha goes the next step further, and she gives them little butterfly kisses all over their face. So she takes her little lips and just gives them butterfly kisses. And it's just, to see these people light up. I mean, they could light Paris with the smiles that come over their faces when she comes over and gives them little butterfly kisses. So our animals are not just, rescued animals who have a nice retirement someplace in obscurity. They have active jobs as ambassadors to kids who are at risk, kids in inner cities, kids who are having troubles with authority or the law or guardians or people in general. And with people who don't get many experiences except stuck in front of TVs, they act as ambassadors from a whole different set of experiences, which is the animal kingdom. So, that's what we do during the weeks. But we're also open every Sunday for everybody. From 10 to 2, we open up our doors, and everybody can come in and say hi to these guys, meet them, and feed carrots to the horses, and meet Mario the chicken, who does a wonderful little dance for anybody who'll sit down on the ground close to him. He does this bizarre little dance and twirls around and jumps on over on you. I don't know how he learned that, but these guys are interesting. And so I invite all of you to come and see us on a Sunday from 10 to 2. We'll be open this Sunday. And so I always have to end any kind of a presentation with how to support the Gentle Barn or how to engage with us or interact with us. And of course, as a 501c3 nonprofit, we are always desperately in need of finances to feed hay to the guys and give them their nutritional supplements and their veterinary care, because a lot of our guys are senior and they do suffer from arthritis and different kinds of situations. You can sponsor an animal if you come by and you meet one, or if you go onto our website, which is just gentlebarn.org. Go on our website, fall in love with them. There's pictures and stories posted. You can fall in love and sponsor one and make sure that that particular critter gets his corn or his hay or his carrots or his whatever it is he needs. You can come visit us on Sundays. You can join us on Facebook. We have an amazing following on Facebook, and Ellie, our founder, does a terrific job. Every single day she posts the story of an animal, and she posts sort of what happened that day. And we take photographs, and we're sort of known for our very funny and amusing photographs that some people don't go a day without checking out our Facebook and seeing what kinds of funny things happened with the critters that day. Did a chicken spend her entire afternoon napping on top of a pig? Did the cows meet, a new friend that day? Did the llama, do some kind of a funny dance? And we take pictures and we post it, and it's very entertaining and fun. Volunteer. We always need volunteers. We have volunteers every single day of the week, and some of them come to groom the horses because they love horses. Some people come to hang out with the cows because we love our cows, and we groom our cows and feed our cows, and a lot of our cows have special visitors who are dedicated to them. We have our upper barnyard, which is chock full of emus and llamas and pigs and goats and sheep and turkeys and chickens and all kinds of delightful creatures. And we love to have volunteers just come and socialize and keep people in front of them and love them, so they're always reminded that presence of people is nice and fun and wonderful, and keeps them very gentle, so that when we do have our at-risk people come in, they always expect that human being presence means happiness and gentleness and pets and attention and good stuff. You can sign up for our newsletter, again online. Sign up for our newsletter so you can sort of figure out what are we doing and what are our events. Every month we'll have a sort of a special event, whether it's Mother's Day or whether it's Father's Day or whether it's Buddha's birthday or Buddha's our cow, or whatever it might be. And we have events. We have a lot of people who have their birthday parties at our barn, which can be so much fun, especially for young kids, to be able to have full run of the barn and go and pet the chickens and the cows and the horses and the emu and have a great time and have their birthday party there. It's a very special and very unique way to have a birthday party or a corporate event, or we're open to all kinds of ideas. And that's sort of who we are. That's some of the stories of the Gentle Barn. Do we have any questions? Or how many people are going to come visit us? Oh, come on. All right.
How far is it up to Sierra?
It's just past Vasquez. So, I mean, it's like 5 minutes. It's not bad. Yeah.
To volunteer, do you come on Sunday?
Yes. Thank you. Very good question. To start volunteering, you come on a Sunday and meet Ellie and fill out our volunteer paperwork. And she'll sort of give you the rundown of the various orientations. We have an orientation for people who want to work in the upper barnyard, an orientation for people who want to work with horses. So to make sure that people, know what they're doing, because horses and cows are large hoofed animals. We don't want to just set a new volunteer out there with large hoofed animals who don't know what they're doing. So they go through an orientation, and then you come and volunteer. It's lots of good fun. Yeah.
What is your phone number?
Phone number is area code 661-252-2440. And the office is open every day, every Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, just like a regular office. Anything else? No, thank you very much.